Hello, love. Page 48, we're middle learning the two things, how this predicament, which I searched up, which means like a very uncomfortable feeling, how it manifests in two ways. One way is drama. And like by drama, we're trying to borrow a sense of acceptance from the people out there. As we realize that certain aspects of our authentic behavior are no longer acceptable, and we manufacture little acts to gain acceptance, or gauge the measure machine on whether these acts work is based on how much attention they draw from our parents and immediate family. Often any attention, even when it's uncomfortable and has unwelcome consequences, is better than no attention. Hence our repertoire of behaviors leads to both negative and positive attention. This desire for attention and acceptance can be positively and creatively channeled, as in many aspects of the performing and creative arts. However, being authentic within a craft entails first learning how to give ourselves the unconditional attention we seek from others. Trying to gain attention could be good. It could bring out so much beauty. But at first, we gotta learn how to give ourselves the unconditional attention that we seek from others. Yeah. Uncomfortable emotion, running to drama, is instead of us giving ourselves the attention for that emotion, seeing it. The second way is self-medication. When you feel a predicament, uncomfortable emotions, it's uncomfortable, push it down, controlling it, got it under control. The second consequence of charged emotion is also a type of dramatic behavior that arises out of a reaction to inner discomfort. However, instead of being aimed outward at others to gain attention, this behavior is aimed inward at ourselves in an attempt to decrease our experience of our internal discomfort. Throughout the presence process, this behavior is called self-medication. It manifests as sedation and control. Whenever circumstances arise that cause charged emotions to seep into our awareness, so is that we start feeling uncomfortable within ourselves. We attempt to either sedate or control the experience. Let's examine these two types of reactivity. Sedation. Sedation is a dysfunction of feminicide and an attempt to numb our awareness of our emotional charge. For example, the habitual need and use of alcohol is intended to sedate discomfort. We are drowning out our authentic emotional state. The expression popularly used, drowning our sorrows. And control, which is the second one, is a dysfunction of the masculine side and an attempt to gain power over discomfort. Sedation is numbing it. Control is like, I'll control it. I'm having power over it. To overpower it, the habitual need and use of cigarettes is intended to control our emotional charge. Whenever we don't know what's happening and we feel out of control, we reach for a cigarette, because by smoking, we at least know what's going on. We're having a cigarette. Being able to reach for light and smoke a cigarette allows us to live in the illusion we are in control of our emotional charge. There's a metaphor, a mashal from the Dibn Magid of the guy carrying a very, very hard suitcase for his friend to get paid, and his friend tells him, it's not my suitcase. How do you know? Because my suitcase isn't heavy. Carrying life under control. Nah, it's not supposed to be heavy. Life is meant to have some uncomfortable feelings, some pain. It's being felt. We're not trying to control it. Smoking marijuana habitually is a popular tool for self-medication because it simultaneously achieves both sedation and control. Marijuana would do sedation, numb certain feelings, bring you in your head, and also control. Maybe the feeling of control is because you know that you're going in a different state. You're controlling yourself to go in a different state. I'm not sure. Behaviors associated with sedation and control range from blatant and subtle until we substantially decrease our charged emotion. We are self-medicating on one level or another. We have charged emotions. They're coming up. And we're self-medicating. our quest for happiness, to have it good, and to have it by easy, all are behaviors associated with control and sedation. By not entertaining habitual or addictive behavior, we instantly discover the felt identity of the charged emotion that lies beneath our habits and addictions. Yeah, they say like you try not to smoke and then you start feeling, or like, yeah. The felt state that erupts from abstinence reveals the nature and intensity of the charged emotion that's driving our self-medication. Not doing your addiction will bring back the charged emotion. Addictions, which are a form of self-medication, are energetically implanted in our field through vibrational, emotional, mental, and physical imprinting. Like, we learned this. It was imprinted in us to self-medicate. We saw this by our parents, by our environment. Integrating charged emotion is the only authentic, causative treatment for addiction, because any self-medicating habit is an effect of an internal emotional predicament. People are working hard to get rid of addictions. You're working with the symptom. The addiction is just a symptom. There's a charged emotion pushing to run. You're sedating it, you're trying to control it, self-medicating. The work is by the casual point, by the uncomfortable charged emotion. Quitting self-medicating behaviors without integrating the associated emotional charge is inefficient, ineffectual, and accomplishes nothing. When we focus on the manifestation of the emotional charge instead of the felt point of casualty, and we're only focusing on the thing that comes out of this charged emotion, we inevitably replace one self-medicating behavior with another. Oh, I'm stopping to smoke. I'm starting to eat more. This is called transference. The extent to which we integrate charged emotion is what separates those who are authentically in charge of the quality of their experience from those who are carrying a charge that manifests in their experience. I remember as a young child looking up to a person. Should I say his name? He's not alive anymore. I was a 16-year-old boy and I was jealous of him. I was realizing that he's always here now. He walks into shul. He's here, he's walking. He's praying. He's here in the prayer. And like I'm never here. I'm always the past and the future running. In other words, he's in charge. And I am being driven by charge. And yeah, the way to get there is not by forcing yourself to be here. by integrating the charged emotions. When anyone enters our field of awareness, it may not be immediately apparent whether they are in charge of the quality of their experience or carrying a charge. However, observing their behavior over a period of time reveals all. Anyone carrying a substantially charged emotion sooner or later exhibits physical, mental, and emotional drama. You could try sedating it, pushing it down, numbing it, controlling it. Okay, I'm here. But at some point, drama is happening. Physical, mental, or emotional. They also entertain habits and addictions, self-medicating behaviors established as a means of sedation and control. Another way where we see it is by these habits of self-medicating. Society's acceptance of alcohol and cigarettes enables us to self-medicate openly without feeling awkward about our inability to integrate an uncomfortable emotional charge. Beyond addiction and affliction. In the context of the presence process, addictions and afflictions, affliction is chronic illness and disease, are the same. Both are outer manifestations of an unintegrated charge within the emotional body. Although we don't discuss allergies specifically, they are considered in the same light as addictions and afflictions. An allergy is the polar opposite of an addiction. When we are addicted, we pull a specific experience towards us. When we are allergic, we repel a specific experience. The causes of both are an unintegrated charge. So I'm not sure exactly about allergies, what they believe these days, what they know. Maybe there's some and some. There's definitely people who, like, with the time, get allergic to more and more stuff. I became allergic to this and that type of food. How did this happen? What changed? In the presence process, addiction is defined not only as something we do uncontrollably and habitually, but also as seemingly random activity we are magnetically drawn toward when faced with specific emotional triggers. Addiction is not just, uncontrollable. He's addicted. He can't control himself. That's a myth. It's just a habit. That's not what addiction is. Addiction is a certain thing, activity that we are magnetically drawn toward when faced with specific emotional triggers. And when he gets triggered with that emotion, this emotion comes up, I can't feel this emotion. Running right away to the addiction. I used to find it at some point, I tried not smoking, and when I was having like a certain trigger, The next thing I knew was a cigarette. Yeah. The presence process is efficient in instructing us how to integrate the casualty of the addictions and afflictions, no matter how long we have entertained them and how actually we have allowed them to color our experience. The presence process doesn't instruct us in how to achieve integration by promising a cure, because a cure is a demonstration, is a destination. It instructs us how to enter an ongoing inner journey toward complete emotional integration, which gradually leads us beyond the manifestation of these outer experiences. You're not quitting, getting rid of it. Cure, being healed, destiny. It's just a journey towards emotional integration. And the more we integrate these charged emotions, the core of these manifestations of the addictions is being integrated. None of us are immune to living in balance, no matter how not sure. It's a matter of personal will, commitment, and consistency. When we intend activating presence, and when this intent remains in the forefront of our awareness, integration of charged emotion is inevitable. The presence process demonstrates that addiction, whether to illegal drugs, alcohol, food, sex, gambling, or legal prescription medications, is self-medicating behavior that we manifest to sedate and control the charge within our emotional body. Without self-medicating, an addict inevitably manifests an affliction. I have a headache because I didn't get my cigarettes. When an affliction is successfully suppressed by ongoing prescription medication, the same condition manifests as addiction. It's uncomfortable, the charged emotion. So either or I'm getting myself to feel uncomfortably physically, having an affliction, something, and focusing my attention on that uncomfortability to sedate and control myself not to feel the charged emotion. Or I'll be drawn to an outer experience to help myself forcefully feel something else. Both conditions are manifestations of an unintegrated emotional charge. Whether an unintegrated emotional charge manifests as an addiction, affliction, or allergy, or a combination of the three, depends on our individual circumstances. When charged emotion is sufficiently integrated, there's no longer a foundation for addiction and affliction. Based on these simple realize. He says real eyes. Just realize that addiction is not uncontrolled. Addiction is trying to control or sedate a charged emotion instead of allowing it to be felt. Based on this simple realization, this process takes what may be considered an unusual and controversial stance in restoring harmony to those of us who have resorted an addictive behavior and prescription medications as a means to sedate and control the charge within the emotional body. We aren't expected to cease our self-medicating behavior to commence the presence process. This is one it makes it in bold. Don't try now to stop the self-medicating thing. Okay, I'm not smoking, doing presence process. No. Don't focus on the manifestation. We will work on the cause. And the manifestation will ease off. Even as it's recommended that we not invest in addictional external activity, which is simply drama, during the presence process, so also forcing ourselves to quit addictive behavior and suspend prescription medication before commencing this journey for the first time is also not required. Addictive behavior is an effect. And up to this moment, in our experience, may also constitute a necessary act of self-medication. It's only an effect, and maybe we're not ready to go to the cause now. When we attempt to quit self-medication ahead of the reduction of charged emotional content, we risk spiraling into states of unconscious behavior in which it becomes impossible to continue attending to our commitments. Becoming deeply unconscious, we forget our tools. We then become overwhelmed and discouraged, with the consequence that we inevitably return to our addictive behavior more intensely than before we entered this process. It is of course recommended when possible not to self-medicate while attending to our daily breathing practice and the required reading for each week. But focus on the cause. We're not focusing on the effect. Just focusing on the effect without reducing the emotional charge by integrating it. Might just bring more drama and more addiction. Those of us who suffer from, this is medical advisory, those of us who suffer from afflictions are asked not to change prescription medication or any other prescribed therapeutic practice when commencing the procedure. We are to continue as per our doctor's recommendations. However, it's recommended that we closely monitor the impact of the prescription medication on our experience as we move through the process. If our response to our medication changes, it's recommended we immediately consult our medical practitioner, requesting an examination and review of our status. The reason for this is that as changed emotion related to our ailment commences integration, so does our relationship with the medication. One of the ways this becomes apparent is when our medication starts feeling as if it's too strong. We may then request evaluation and subsequent decrease of our prescribed drug dosages. So we're not stopping. If anyone has any medications, they're not stopping it, but monitoring the effects, because while our emotional charge is being integrated, we might no longer need it so much or such high dosage, and we can constantly re-evaluate, and one of the signs is when you feel it's too strong. The reason we aren't asked to quit medications before starting our initial journey through the presence process is that we can't change anything by fiddling with an effect. Addictions and afflictions are effects, and therefore our addictive behavior in relationship with prescription medication is also an effect. Rather than putting energy into forcing ourselves to quit anything, it's more beneficial to focus on integrating the cause of the condition.